Hi there, welcome to my tutorial on solving quadratics by factorising. We've got three examples here that we're going to do and they get progressively harder. If at any stage you're not sure, you need some help on this, you can refer back to my tutorial on factorising quadratics as well. That could help. So example 1. With a quadratic, if you remember, to factorise these, we're looking for two numbers that will multiply to give you a negative 10 and that will add to give you a negative 3. So we're going to factorise this first of all. So here, if we have a look, we're going to put this into two brackets. We can put our x value in, but we've got to look for these two numbers. 1 and 10 will multiply to give 10, and 2 and 5 will multiply to give 10. One of these has to be a negative because you need a negative multiplied by a positive to give a negative answer. So let's have a look and put some negatives in here. Could it be negative 1 times 10? Well, does that add to give negative 3? No, it doesn't. Could it be 1 add negative 10? Does that add to give negative 3? No, it gives negative 9. So it can't be that combination. Let's have a look at the second one. Could it be a negative 2, times 5 gives you negative 10, but negative 2 add 5 gives you positive 3. So this must be the opposite way around. 2 times negative 5 gives you negative 10, and 2 add negative 5 gives you negative 3. So these are our two factors. So we write in here x add 2, x minus 5, and they're going to equal 0. So we've factorised it first. Now if you remember from our work on equations, if I'm multiplying two things together, then to get rid of one of them I need to divide. So if I divide, let's say for example I want to get rid of the x minus 5. If I divide x minus 5 by x minus 5, it will disappear and I'll be left with x plus 2. But whatever I do to one side, I must do to the other side. So basically, I'm taking this over to here and I'm dividing by x minus 5. But 0 divided by x minus 5 gives me 0. So I'm left with x plus 2 equals 0. If I take the 2 over to the other side, I'm left with x equals a negative 2. I could have moved the x plus 2 over and divided by x plus 2 to leave the x minus 5 on there. If I'd have done it that way, I'd have had x minus 5 equals 0, and take the minus 5 over, I'm going to be left with x equals 5. Okay, because I'm going to add 5 to both sides. So my answer to example 1 is x equals negative 2, x equals positive 5. Now in this situation it's fairly straightforward. We don't have to go through all this. It's very clear to see that all I've done once I've factorised it is changed the signs to give me my answer. Example 2. If I'm going to solve a quadratic must be equal to 0 before you can solve it. So in this situation it's equal to 4. We need to make the equation equal to 0 first of all. Well, that's easy to do because if I take 4 away from the right hand side, I take 4 away from the left hand side, I've now got 0 on the right hand side. So my equation becomes x squared minus 3x minus 18 equals 0. And then I've got a situation that I was exactly the same as what I had in EG1. So now I can just put my brackets, double brackets, x and x. I'm looking for two numbers that multiply to give minus 18 and add to give minus 3. My combinations could be 1 and 18, 2 and 9, 3 and 6. Now it's pretty clear to see that that's couldn't work. It's quite clear to see that 2 add 9 in any combination could not give you a value of 3. So it must be the 3 and 6. Is it negative 3 times 6? That gives you negative 18. But negative 3 add 6 would give you a positive 3. So it must be the opposite way around. 3 add a negative 6 gives me negative 3. So that becomes x, add 3, x minus 6 in the brackets. They are equal to 0. And like I said for the first one, we don't have to go through this procedure. You just change the signs. So x equals negative 3 and x equals positive 6. And example 3. Example 3 is a little bit more difficult because it's got the coefficient in front of the x squared term. So the way we do this is we start off and we multiply the 3 by the 22 to give us 66. And now we've got to look for two numbers that multiply to give 66 and add to give 17. Combinations could be 1 and 66, 2 and 33. We could have 3 and 22. We could have 6 and 11. There's plenty of combinations there. It's pretty easy to see straight away that 6 add 11 is going to give you 17. So we're dealing with these two numbers here, the 6 and the 11. But it's not as straightforward as example 1 and 2. What we now need to do is we need to split the 17, or the 17x rather, into 6x and 11x. Make sure you write it the correct way round. 3x squared. I don't want to write the 11 here because I want to have two terms next to each other that will factorise easily together. So I'm going to write the 6x there and the 11x there. Write out the rest of the equation. All I've done is I've split the 17x into my two values that I found over here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do what's called pairing. I'm going to factorise this pair and this pair individually. So I'm going to do what occurs in both, 3x, open the brackets, 3x times x gives me 3x squared, and 3x times 2 gives me 6x. And then the other side, what occurs in both? Well, 11 occurs in both. Open the brackets, 11 times x gives me 11x, and 11 times 2 gives me 22. If you remember from the lessons on factorising, these numbers inside the bracket should be the same. If they're not, you've done something wrong. All I do to finish this off is write 3x plus 11, whatever's outside the brackets, in one set of brackets, and whatever is inside the brackets in the other set of brackets. So I'm left with 3x plus 11, x plus 2 equals 0. Now this time, it's not just as simple as changing the signs here. I need to do these individually. So I could take the x plus 2, divide by x plus 2 on both sides, and that's going to leave me with 3x plus 11 equals 0. Let's look at that one first. 3x plus 11 equals 0. So what does x equal? Well, I've got an equation to solve here. I take 11 away from both sides to leave me 3x equals negative 11. And then to get the x, I have to divide both sides by 3, which is going to leave me with x equals minus 11 thirds. It's perfectly okay to leave it like that. The next one, I'm going to have x plus 2 equals 0. Well, that's just pretty straightforward because if x plus 2 equals 0, I take 2 away from both sides. So x will equal negative 2. And that's my final answer.